You are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, my master of all things video and sound, Maxine.
How's it going?
And my boy and producer, MT.
What's up, Dev Nation?
Gentlemen, fired up to announce, after way too long, rejoining us, a former writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, where he covered the Raiders, the Aces, the Golden Knights, and combat sports. The Golden State beat writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, who attends every single practice, press conference, shoot around a game, and a guy whose quotes I frequently and casually steal during this podcast, Mr. Sam Gordon. What's going on, Sam?
What's up, fellas? Appreciate you guys having me. How you guys doing today?
Good. In case you thought I was joking, I've used the Kuminga's ring around the rotation line at least twice today. I mean, you may hear it as we go forward. And another quick admission, I'm trying the impossible, kind of a high wire act today. So, Sam, I've got a new puppy in my life. Forgot how fucking hard it is to raise a puppy. And literally right now, I'm recording next to him as he sleeps. So we'll see how this goes. There's a chance here. Little
what kind of dog?
Boxer.
Okay, it's tremendous.
Name is Ty. Here, I'll give you a brief glimpse into my life right now. I call it the Ty cycle. Last night, legitimately last night, I'm laying on the couch. This dog's laying on my chest, and it's one of those reminders of like who dogs are, dude. You know, it's just so fucking great. They give me an emotional security that I don't have in any other place, and I'm legitimately thinking I'm so lucky to have a dog back in my life. And before I can finish that thought, he gets up, starts walking across my couch to my wife, and then I'm like, well, you know, it's not just me. Like, he's great with the kid and the wife. And before I can finish that, he stops and he shits on my couch, and like even telling the story, my whole body just seizes up with tension. And it's just this ongoing, like, this is great. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is great cycle. So right now we're in the great part, but it could change at any moment.
Respect. Yeah, that's how it goes. We have a dog, but she's I think 4 or 5 when we got her. So I haven't experienced a puppy. I'm just now having my first dog. I've been a dog owner for 9 months. It's absolutely tremendous. So yeah, I get the sense that even though that happened, the joy and the excitement outweighs those bumps in the road.
Wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it at all. But if you want to hit me at like 2 a.m. when I'm going to be outside watching this dog not piss, I'll let you know how I feel then.
I appreciate it.
But we'll see when we get there, boys. Let's talk Warriors. And let me start this way, man. Vibe check. So we'll jump in. We're going to spend a little bit of time with Joe Lacob's email account. And at least from what I've read, he's frustrated. So is Justin Dutari. So is apparently Kerr. So is a lot of people. But gentlemen, take it in turn. Sam, let me start with you. This is conjecture. Who knows? But you're around the team. How would you describe the vibe around the players right now? Frustrated, understanding? Like, where do things stand?
That's a great question. I think, nobody's happy, right? The team's 13-14. Like, nobody's happy. They've been searching for answers for a couple weeks now. There's been injuries. The lineups have changed. The rotations have changed. Like, we know all those things. 9 starting lineups in that last 9 games. That's set to change tonight, by the way. And I'm in, depending on whatever time this gets. Are we live?
Yeah.
Live. Yeah. So tonight, and whenever anybody sees this, Warriors play the Suns. Expect, based on what Steve Kerr said the last couple of days, that the starting lineup is going to stick. Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Quentin Post. You would imagine that a relatively cohesive rotation around that is definitely a focus on establishing some continuity. So all those things notwithstanding, right? There's definitely, I would say, disappointment, frustration, and urgency, but not. Nobody's sounding the alarm. This is a veteran group. This is an experienced group. I think there was always going to be an understanding that there was going to be injuries. You run the risk when you have an older team of players missing games, right? Steph Curry's missed 9 games. Draymond Green was out of the lineup for a while. Al Horford is still dealing with nagging sciatica. So this was always part of, potentially part of the equation. But 13-14 is what it is. And you look at kind of where some of the struggles are. Late game execution and turnovers, right? 5 and 9 in clutch games. Those are games decided in the final 5 minutes by 5 points or fewer. And then the turnovers. The Warriors have been bottom 5, bottom 6. It's varied, right? It's fluctuated. Pretty much all season, the turnovers have been an issue. The offense has been an issue, and these problems aren't fixing themselves. I think that's kind of where some of the frustration is coming from. Is it doesn't seem like anything is necessarily getting better. Doesn't matter what the lineup has been. Doesn't matter who's been in and out of the lineup, who's been healthy. After that 4-1 start, it's pretty much been topsy-turvy all the way. So it is a veteran group. The schedule didn't do them any favors early on. The health didn't do them any favors. The schedule, it all evens out, right? You take a look at these next 5 or 6 weeks. Warriors are going to have a lot of home games. They're home quite a bit in January. There is, again, declared intent, and this is subject to change, right? I mean, we'll see how long this starting lineup sticks. But, again, kind of understanding how urgent the timing is, being under 500 right now. You heard Steph Curry talk post-game in Portland about wanting to establish continuity, and that no team that's ever had success has had that kind of identity of that much change in the rotation. So maybe this is kind of a reset point right now at this juncture. They're as healthy as they've ever been. Horford said this morning at shoot-around he's expecting to be back next week. They'll get Pat Spencer back after he's out for personal reasons tonight. And maybe with their health intact, they can establish some continuity. So all those things, I think, kind of baked into to how they're feeling. And it's not, a happy basketball team per se, but it's not a team that's necessarily sounding the alarms either, despite the frustration and the urgency.
To give you a sense how frustrated I am, you mentioned two things I completely forgot about: the 4-1 start and Al fucking Horford. Just the two things I have not thought about for far too long. Maxime, MT, didn't have you last week. I haven't heard you guys for a little bit. Where do you guys stand on this stuff? Frustrated, understanding? What do you think?
I'm definitely frustrated, but we're going to get into the specifics of why as we go along. So I just generally leave it at that. And I think it's also something that we're seeing throughout the fan base. I guess you always see it on Twitter, right? You always see it on Reddit. People freak out over everything. But like the homies, the people in my life that grew up on the Warriors, right? The people that have been around for a lot of the losses. This was an expectation at the end of Steph's time on the team, right? Like we kind of mortgaged a lot to be able to do some stuff early on, and we knew the bills would come due, but like it's pretty tough to watch it go down like that. So yeah, frustrated. We'll get into the specifics later.
Yeah, I'm frustrated too, but it's tempered with like it's kind of to be expected. I think there was a bit of fool's gold last season with Jimmy coming on and us going on that run. The problem, it's weird. Like Steph goes for 48 and we still lose, right? So having offensive problems is a interesting dynamic for this team. The defense still plays pretty well. I think in a really weird way, like even though he didn't get a ton of minutes, the team misses like Kevon Looney in a way that they didn't anticipate. Even if he was out there for 7-8 minutes a game, he would still pull in 3 offensive rebounds and and a couple defensive boards, and he would set some screens, most of them illegal, but
most of them effective.
Yeah, I think they missed that size, and we always were a smaller team, but I think they're regretting making that decision a little bit. But just overall, to Sam's point, the schedule didn't do us any favors. We're in a lot of close games. Curry's, when he's on the court, is scoring a lot, and we're just not getting any contributions from everybody else on the offensive end. So you like to think that the ball will fall and people's shooting percentages will even out and regress to the mean, but it's not looking good right now.
Sam, I got an expectations questions for you. One that I'm worried about, but excited for. But first, let me address what both of them just said, because I completely agree. And MT, nice sweatshirt. And let's bring this all together with why I'm frustrated. I'm not frustrated with the record per se. I understand. I mean, I know Father Time, the whole shit. I didn't think we were going to win one title. We won 4. If this is, things are winding down, I can accept that. The thing that's really hard for me is watching Steph not wind down while everyone around him does. Having him continue to be legendary right now, seemingly, in my very biased opinion, being capable of being the best player on a title team, and then, putting out 48 in Portland and then losing for the 3rd time against a team that's most likely not going to make the play-in is hard and is frustrating. If this was just the end of Kobe's career, just the Kobe show, he's going out, putting up 25, no one really had any expectation, it wouldn't be that frustrating for me. But because I can see what he's capable of, and I think we're playing beneath maybe what they should be, that's the frustrating part. But to the expectations question, right? I'm a big fan of expectations dictate experience. Stupid example. Wife and I hit a movie recently that Now You See Me, Now You Can't 3, the magic, like bank robbing series of movies. And I went with expectations. I liked the first two, was all fired up, wanted to see it. Erica had none. She didn't give a shit about the series. Fine, let's just go see a movie. It was a B movie. We both watched the same thing, but because of expectations, had an entirely different experience. I thought it was going to be good. Because it wasn't that good, I left all pissy. Erica had no expectations. She didn't give a shit. Caught a B movie, was fine. Off we left. So expectations dictate how you feel about things. Yeah. No question what our expectations were entering this year. Nothing we could do. It would require a time machine to go change those. But, right now, it kind of feels like that saying, believe somebody when they tell you who they are. These guys have told us they're a fucking 13 and 14 team. They've in every opportunity. It kind of feels like they're a 500 team. So to the question, expectations, Sam, how do you view these guys, man? Should we expect them to be a play-in team? Should we expect them to be a playoff team? Should we expect them to be a lottery team? Where should I set this expectations going forward here?
Oof, that's a great question, right? Well, they're 13 and 14 right now. They're in 8th place in the Western Conference, and just the 6th seed. That's how you get out of the playoffs. 17 and 10, Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
So they're already 4 games out of the 6th seed, a third of the season. So, they got some ground to catch up. And Phoenix is in the 7th spot. So and then they play Phoenix again on Saturday. So I think the play-in, it's very possible they wade in these play-in waters the entire rest of the season. I would say big picture going into the season, and very much so, still the team's goal not to be in the play-in. You saw what that did, and that's when everything was working out at the end of the season. That was after, kind of doing this whole 500 thing, and then it all clicked, and we know what happened last year. That's after that 23-8 stretch. That was exhaustive. They had to play a play-in game, and then you're in a high-leverage 7-game series with a veteran group that goes 7 games, and we know how the season played out. Like, the Warriors definitely wanted to stake themselves that week because how much the seeding matter. It's not so much necessarily the seeding. I guess you don't want to be 1 or 2. You don't want to have to see Oklahoma City or Denver right away. But I guess at the end of the day, you're going to have to get through one of those teams anyways. Like, why? I don't know. To answer your question, it would behoove the Warriors for sure. They know this. The goal is definitely, whether it's stated or not, to not be in the play-in tournament. But it's an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle. The Timberwolves have been the back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Like that, you take a look at where that top 6 is, and that's the 6th place team. Like, barring a major injury, there's already some separation there. I guess the good news as far as it pertains to the Warriors is there is 55 games left. Like, they could catch a heater. Maybe something clicks. Maybe something flips. Right, but to your point, until it actually does, there's no reason to think it will. To go back to something that MT said, that 23-8 stretch. Like, yes, it was impressive. All you can do is beat who's on the schedule. They definitely had some signature, I guess what you'd say, signature late season wins. The Lakers. The Nuggets, they beat Memphis in Memphis in a game where Steph had 50. Like, they beat some winning teams, but a lot of those victories were against teams that were shorthanded or teams that were struggling, weren't in playoff contention. I think this, I guess, kind of the what's flipped this year is the wins that the Warriors were getting over shorthanded teams late last season, like they haven't been getting this year. They lose to the Rockets without Kevin Durant. They lose to the Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's really where this thing started, right? They were 4-1 going into that road trip, back-to-back losses to the Bucks without Giannis and to the Pacers without everybody. Tyrese Halliburton and everybody else. Like, they were taking care of business in the games that they were supposed to win last year. So, you're battling to be out of the play-in, but there's no guarantees that they're going to have. Health is a question mark beyond establishing continuity and figuring things out on the court. You have both those variables, right? You have to be healthy and you have to figure things out that they haven't figured out. All those factors are at play. And it might be battling in the playoff position or play-in positioning for the rest of the season. That being said, like, I would be stunned if they missed the play-in, barring, again, something catastrophic, right? There should be enough separation between them and the bottom 5 teams in the conference. But, they're under 500 right now, and you can't pencil in a victory on it on any given night. This team's been too up and down to say that.
I'll go fast. It has to be play-in, and I'll give you an example. When they were playing Minnesota without Ant Edwards, I think they were up 2. Dante DiVincenzo lined up for a 3. Before it left his hand, I was ready to turn the fucking TV off because I knew for sure he was going to hit it and we were going to lose that game. And in every opportunity where they kind of get a chance, we're like, well, this would be a big game if they can pull it off. They don't. And so maybe this is me protecting my heart, which I am not above at all. My expectation is play-in. It is. Boys, do you agree? Where are you?
Yeah, we know that the West is a bloodbath, so it's not just about what the Warriors are capable of doing. It's about how many teams are going to be in front of them. They're going to crowd them out of the top 6. I think it's pretty likely, like you guys said, that they're in the play. And I think you also got to look at expectations of some of the key decision makers within the organization. What is Lacob doing to set our expectations? And he used to talk about the 2 timelines, and now we're seeing, as we'll talk about in a little bit, emails telling us that he's frustrated. And we know above all he likes to win and he's willing to spend. So maybe that means that we're actually going to have more of a push from ownership than your sort of average return team. Mike Dunleavy Jr. showed us last season that he's willing to make big in-season trades. So there are expectations maybe that something could shift and maybe shift us away from the 2 timelines into getting some veteran savvy in there as well. And we know that Steve Kerr doesn't like to play the young guys. So it would be good to get rid of those young guys and bring in somebody that is more trusted, that has gotten the veteran presence from Steve. So I think we have reasons to expect that the people in charge of this franchise can put us in a position to succeed. But I think as presently constructed at this moment, so much hinges on this trade deadline, because if nothing changes, I can't expect the team to be anything better than a play-in team.
Yeah, I think we're in the playoffs. I don't think I think we land in the 6th seed. I think Minnesota is the fool's gold this season. Their strength of schedule is the 3rd easiest in the league for this season. And I don't know. I think we make a move at the deadline. We trade Kuminga and maybe some pieces in our pick and pick up somebody. And I think we just figure it out. I don't think we're strong enough to jump over any of the other 5 teams, but I do think we knock Minnesota out and we swap places with them.
Can you think of any other circumstance where someone spent $24 million and not uses the thing that they bought? Like, I think I don't know what I would have to do if I bought a $24 million car. Do you know how often I would drive that shit, even if I hated it? The idea that JK is just sitting over there, just completely out, the ring around the rotation, that line I like to use all the time, has been really frustrating, dude. It's been really frustrating. All right, let's get to email stuff. But before we do, a quick word from Underdog, boys. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. I love this, guys. Been talking about it for, a few weeks now, and tonight's no different. The reason I like it is because it takes something I already like, watching hoop, and then lets me use my basketball knowledge to actually make money. Give you an example. We're talking to Sam while he's in Phoenix because the Warriors are going to be playing the Suns tonight. Underdog set Steph's point line at 28.5. I am throwing down on the higher on that because I think it's going to put a little bit of money into my pocket. That's because playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Download the app today and use promo code WHP to secure $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code WHP, as in Warriors Huddle Podcast. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus or 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_HTML for details. Offer is not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And if you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. And in New York, you can call the 24/7 Hope line, 1-877-8-HOPE-New York, or text HOPE-NY. All right, boys, to the meat of the podcast, to a segment I'll call You've Got Mail. Turns out Joe Lacob reads fans' emails. Here's the story. So on Sunday, an in particularly frustrating day for a lot of people, the Warriors play in Portland. Steph puts up a 48 spot. The Warriors still lose, and a fan named Justin, who apparently had Joe Lacob's email. Credit to Justin, by the way. Like I don't know if it's listed out there. I'm not sure how he got it, but he sends off an email. Here's what the email said. Quote, "Dear Joe, please do something about this team. What Steph needs to do every night to win, drop 50 points. Team is in need of a real second option. Jimmy's tools are being underutilized because he's playing as a power forward due to the small position players. We have no true center. I am so frustrated." Now, an email from a fan to the owner, entertaining, but not a story. What makes it a story is that 2 minutes later, after he sent this email, 2 minutes later, Lacob fires an email back. Here is Lacob's response to Justin. You can't be as frustrated as me. I am working on it. It's complicated. Style of play, coaches' desires regarding players, league trends. Jimmy is not the problem. Signed, Joe. And we know about the exchange because shortly after receiving it, Justin hopped on Reddit and fired off the whole exchange there. A lot of people thought it was fake for a while. It is not. This happened, gentlemen. It is, in fact, a back and forth. So here's my first question. And as we talked about before we did this, Sam, firm, don't get fired territory. Take any of these off if you like. Here's the first question, gentlemen. Do you guys think Lacob expected his response to go public? Like when he wrote that, fires it off to Justin, did he know that, you know, people would be talking about this in some instance? I'll go first. Fuck yes. I don't think this was a plant. I don't think he was Justin as well. I don't think he sent the email to himself. But this is a calculated, intelligent, careful man. This is a guy who's made money paying attention to details. This is not someone who's going to put his ass in the wind without thinking about it. Like, oh, I just hope Justin doesn't tell anybody. There's no fucking way that he didn't at least think about it before sending it off. Now, the other side of that, it's 2 minutes later. Not a lot of thought. He didn't sit on this, right? But in my opinion, I don't think he planted it. But when he sent it, I think he considered, you know what? They may be talking about this out there. I'm hitting send anyways. Bow.
Do I know for sure? No, but I would venture to guess that he definitely considered the possibility that being the very public figure that he is, as the principal owner of the Golden State Warriors, that might go public. So yeah, I'm with you. I think he had to at least know there was a strong likelihood that it would go public, and voila, it did.
MT, take the next question, but first we're going to hear a quote from Kerr. Question's going to be, is this a big deal? This thing's hanging out there now. They're 13 and 14. Everyone's talking about it. You turn on a Warriors show, this is going to be the thing they're most likely going through. I can tell you who at least says it's not a big deal. Coach Steve Kerr, who offered this in a press conference.
Email that, I don't know, leak, whatever you want to call it. Did you see it?
Yeah. Raymond told me the story. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about anything like that.
I mean, it did, I guess, express a sense of frustration with the current situation. I guess how are you feeling, not only, above you, below you, players, all that, just like the growing frustration at 13 and 14?
Well, we're all frustrated. Joe is frustrated. I'm frustrated. Steph and Dre, everybody's frustrated. And this is, kind of how the league works. And, I hate when people, are going to post private emails. Imagine if everyone's emails were just publicly posted, how tough that would be to live our lives. So Joe supports me 100%. I support him. We have a great connection, and we've had so much continuity.
You can cut it right there. They should have had Justin come in and ask these questions, which would have been great and on the spot. But all right, MT, not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's just somebody reading public emails, and maybe they shouldn't have. What do you think? Big deal or not?
I don't think it's a big deal, but I do think there was some pre-thought to it. I'm not saying that Lacob planted Justin, but like Lacob is a busy guy and a wealthy guy. And unless he had like an alert set for Justin's email address specifically, like how do you respond to that in 2 minutes? Like I have trouble responding to my work emails in 2 hours sometimes. So I don't know. The fact that it was so fast gives me a little pause, but overall, I think it was he knew it was going to go public, and the line that makes it somewhat of a big deal is just the coach's desires regarding players.
Oh yeah. Oh, we will go through that in a second.
Yeah, like that is there's no sugarcoating or trying to read between the lines there. That to me is to your earlier point. Coach's decisions to not play somebody I just paid $24 million to stay on my roster.
If this is a deposition and we were talking to Kerr about it, and he fired off that line of, well, me and Joe are in really good terms, I would have read the coach's desires regarding players and then asked Kerr, how do you read that line? What coach is he talking about, dude? It's like a fucking, like, is it about the Niners or something? It feels like maybe you're not on the same page. Sam, I'm going to ask you, do you think it's a big deal? Before you do, I'm just going to add this. what, like if I think something, if I'm trying to downplay something and I know you're going to talk to me about it, if you start to bring it up and I fire off a yeah, and then start talking about it, it's because it is a fucking big deal and I'm trying to downplay it. You know, and like that was Kerr's first thing. Like, oh yeah, who cares? Like, no, dude, this feels like a little bit bigger. But my opinion next, Sam, you do this shit for a living. You heard this story. Is it just a sidelight thing? You know, whatever this happens, who cares? Or does this feel like it's got some substance to it?
I mean, it's public comments that we're seeing from the owner, right? Like they are what they are. I think in a lot of ways they speak for themselves. Again, I go to what I said before. He's an incredibly public figure. Put something in writing. You know, you have to know that there's a chance it goes public, and it did. And it did at a time when the Warriors fell under 500 after 3 straight, DMPs for Jonathan Kuminga after, back-to-back huge games from Steph Curry where the team, falls apart in the clutch like it often has this season. So I think, the email is what it is. I think again, just kind of to go back to how we started with where the Warriors are at right now, I definitely think this is an inflection point, a chance to build some momentum or not, right? Depending on how things go. And we're getting closer and closer to January 15th and February 5th. And that date also kind of falls in this runway for the Warriors where they have all these home games where their evaluators, their decision makers are going to have to be making some decisions here. We mentioned Jonathan Kuminga. We all know the contract he signed, the saga that played out this summer in terms of the contentious negotiations that finally result in the 2-year deal, $48.5 million with a team option for 26-27 with inherent flexibility in case a trade were to be revisited. So yeah, all of these dynamics are at play. You have kind of the way that the schedule, shook out for the Warriors. There's some downtime in terms of the schedule and whatnot to get healthy. And here goes the runway. So yeah, the timing of the email is definitely noteworthy given with where the Warriors are at in the season. How big of a deal is it on its face, in conjunction with where the Warriors are at this season? I think it speaks to the urgency and frustration that I had talked about at the top of the show. Not necessarily, again, panic, but public urgency from the owner that you would venture to guess trickles down the entire organization. It's reverberated through the fan base, and the Warriors get to come out and see what they do with it tonight against the Suns.
I completely agree. So, like, not giant deal. Like, if this email somehow admitted that Pods with Lacob's illegitimate son, like it's not like sky is fucking falling, big deal. But anytime you get to hear directly from the owner in a setting that suggests honesty, because it's not in front of the camera. And maybe like I've already said, I think it was on purpose, but in this seemingly private setting for the owner to come out and say he's frustrated feels like a big enough of a deal. All right, Maxime, we're going to start with you on this one. Probably the most important question I can ask here. It is, what does he mean when he said this? Yeah. So, quote, coach's desires regarding players. What the hell do you think Lacob means when he said that?
So the first thing that comes to mind, it's something that I alluded to a little bit earlier when I said we would get to this. And in fact, I just pulled up the quote tweet. So here it is. This is Kerr on 95.7 The Game saying, quote, "It's been tough not playing Will Richard because I'm a huge fan and believer. Right now, frankly, he's sitting because he's a rookie. I'm honoring what the older guys have done over the years." So in my mind, this is Kerr in a nutshell, right? He's a person who's going to not play the younger guys because, as he just said, he trusts. He feels like the veterans have done more over the years. And I when I got to my high school jazz band, I was told, yeah, you're not going to play because like we have these guys who really can barely play the saxophone, but they're seniors, so they deserve to be here. I was like, okay, so you literally don't care about your product, you just care about seniority, and it's pretty frustrating. In high school, it's like, whatever, I get it, they're about to graduate, so on and so forth, but like this is about fielding the best possible NBA team that you can, and it's like, kind of literally his job. So I know it's not just as simple as that, but I'm a little bit frustrated by that sort of motivation. And you have that intention with Lacob, who is king 2 timelines, right? And so I'm reading this as him saying, hey, yeah, like I wanted to get a bunch of these awesome young players. I love them. We know that he's a big Jonathan Kuminga fan. I'm sure he's a fan of a lot of the other guys, and he sees Kerr sort of playing these older lineups, right? And then on top of that, you have Steph with a tweet from Sam quoting. It sounds like it was on an interview that you did with him, being like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to some continuity in the next couple of games in terms of these lineups, right?" I think this goes hand in hand with like Kerr trying out different things and biasing towards the older players. So there's clearly, I think, a lot of frustration there. That's how I'm reading it. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
To me, generally speaking, if there's a simple answer, 99% of the time, that's what's happening. I told you how I'd feel if I spent $24 million on something and then it wasn't being used. I'd be frustrated as hell, And so coaches' desires regarding players, I don't think you have to read between the fucking lines. He's frustrated with what's happening with Kuminga. I don't know. This isn't reporting. I ran into Joe Lacob once when we were still playing. I interviewed his son as part of the podcast when they're still in Oakland, and I ran into Joe Lacob in the bowels of the arena. And the only back and forth I had with him was I told him I had been a Warriors fan for, I don't know, like 40 years or something, I said. And he goes, "How old are you?" He's like, "Are you fucking 42? And that was it. That was the whole thing. I didn't have a response. He kept going, and I've never seen him since. So I don't fucking know how he feels about this, but that was my guess. Let's lead up to Sam, because his opinion on this means the most to me. MT, coach's desires regarding players. What is Lacob talking about?
Well, it's obviously he's talking about Kuminga, and I don't know. I think if Steph hadn't have said earlier in the season or whatever it was in the off season that he was looking forward to riding this thing out with Steve Kerr and Draymond Green, then I think we're having a different conversation. And then there were two left from the trio. Clay is gone, and then Kerr was gone. I think he has a little bit longer of a leash because they probably, Curry has made it known, no, I still believe in Kerr. And he probably doesn't want that to go away in his final few years in the league. But I think it's coming to an head. I think Steve Kerr can't just continue to shift the lineups and do what he wants to do, regardless of the outcome, which he kind of could before. And now it's like, no, you actually have to listen to what ownership is saying and doing. So I'm sure Lacob said that in so many ways, either to Steve directly or through Mike Dunleavy or some other people in the organization. Let's find a way to get all the players that we're paying on the court. But I don't think there's any mystery as to what he's talking about with that. It's Kuminga.
Fool said he may have mentioned it indirectly to Mike Dunleavy. He told it to fucking Justin Dutari in a public email. I don't think there's any question. He's definitely telling people. Sam, are we off base? What do you think, man? You read this. Is he, am I being too direct to think this is?
No, I mean, I think that, that's where my mind went too, right? It's no secret how Kuminga's tenure has gone with Golden State, the ups and the downs, and in the rotation, out of the rotation, so on and so forth, right? Yesterday after practice, Steve Kerr mentioned that Kuminga's got to get back out there. So we'll see if he's back in the rotation tonight. I do think it's notable that after taking him out of the rotation, the Warriors went 1-2. Like, Kuminga's not the, whether he's in the lineup or not, him being out of the lineup hasn't fixed things for the Warriors, right? Like, I believe they have a winning record when he plays and a losing record when he doesn't, right? I think they're 4-6, including the 7 games that he missed with the bilateral knee soreness or the tendonitis, and then the 3 DMPs. And what was that, 4-6? So that would mean that they are 9-8 when he does play. So it's not. So yeah, from that standpoint, it's a frustrating situation. I can understand that. For everybody involved, right? It's been ups and downs. It's been this kind of similar trajectory with Jonathan Kuminga since he's been here. So now again with the lead up to January 15th, with February 5th looming, the trade deadline, like, you feel the sense of urgency. You feel the frustration from top to bottom, and again, I would expect now, again, given Kerr's comments, and we'll get clarity tonight. Hopefully pregame and with how the rotations go. But I would imagine Kuminga's going to get more runway now because taking him out of the rotation didn't magically fix, what the problems were. The Warriors won that game in Chicago where they played great when he didn't play, and then they lost to the Timberwolves and the Blazers. So, there's no denying, that after he came back, his play has been substandard. But the burst at the beginning of the season and the strengths that he has, you saw. I think you saw against Minnesota and Portland, right? Just the difference in athleticism and speed and all those things. He gives them an element that combats that. So, yeah, it's been. I mean, it feels like this is the most kind of outward too in the last couple of weeks that Kerr has acknowledged the fit with Kuminga and all those things. So now, ahead of January 15th, see what this next month looks like before the organization has to make some decisions.
For those who aren't familiar, January 15th is Kuminga Day. That's the day they can ultimately trade him. I remember when Rodman was still playing, and this might be a Bill Simmons line. It might be a Howard Stern line. I don't even remember. But it said that Rodman reached this place where if any news came out, you'd believe it. He had a pet tiger. You'd believe it. He, became a professional chef. Fine. Like there's nothing that you'd be like, that's impossible. I've reached that place with Kuminga's role in the rotation now. If Kerr came out and said, I'm not going to play him until he can spell rhinoceros backwards, it wouldn't fucking surprise me. There's nothing seems to be consistent with him now. And so maybe we finally reached it. Maybe with Lacob's urging, there will be some rhyme or reason to this, but it's hard to guess. Okay. Final question, boys. Let's say you have a magical computer. You have Justin Dutari's computer. You fire off an email to anybody. The person you fire it off to will give you an answer and will be honest. All right. So you can send an email to any member of the NBA. They will answer whatever question you've put to them honestly. Who would you send an email to and what would you ask? I can go first if you guys need a little bit of time to vamp, or if somebody's got something burning through them, you guys can fire away. I'll go first. Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sending an email to the Bucks, and assuming they trade Giannis, I'm asking them what it takes for us to get Miles Turner.
All right, I like it. Maxime, you got one? We're gonna go to Sam last.
Yeah, that was so specific. I wanted storyline. It's I'm kind of reeling from that, to be honest. I need a minute.
Me and Justin are locked in together.
So close. Actually, if you take Justin Dutar and mix up the names, it actually spills out Marcus Taylor. It's a whole fucking conspiracy deal. Here, I got a bunch.
Anthony Melton, just randomly, but
I'll go up. All right, I'm going to start randomly. Start with Adam Silver. Did you fix the Cooper Flag draft? Wouldn't mind knowing. I'd go to John Morant. Have you ever actually fired a fucking gun? Because I feel like maybe no. And then for the Warriors shit, all right, Lacob, why did the 2 timeline thing fail? I'd like a real answer on that. Draymond, if you could pick one. You win another title or you have the world's most successful sports media career going forward. Which would you prefer? Because I'd very much like the answer to that. I'd also like to know if he could take the pull punch back, would he? Steph, why do you believe Kevin Durant left? Do you want to play for another coach? Do you think Pods should be given the reins of this franchise? And who has a better career, you or LeBron? And finally, Kerr, when did you realize that JK wouldn't fit with this team? Was it when they fucking drafted him? I would like some clarity on any of those. And I wouldn't share, if they're listening, if you want to send me an email, I'm not sending it out to anybody. It's just between us, I promise. I'd be very interested to see how you go back out here. I'll give you one more, Kerr. If you could go back and change something, how you handled it, anything you did, if you could go back and change it, what would it be and how would you handle it differently? Okay, Sam, again, you do this shit for a living, dude. What?
You were fighting. Those were great questions. Those were the heavy hitters. I didn't have nothing that heavy.
I appreciate it.
The one that came to mind for me was it would be to Adam Silver, and the conversation around expansion I think was as forthright as it's been. I mean, at the NBA Cup, he talked about a potential decision in 2026, Las Vegas and Seattle. I want to know what's going to what way they're leaning, what the kind of the realistic pathways, more details around expansion. Being that I used to live in Vegas, it's still an interesting topic to me, right? How a franchise would do there, how the city would gravitate towards a franchise, what the league would be like there in Vegas. Yeah.
And how do you handle gambling? I mean, like, if it's in Vegas, and like, do they still are allowed to bet on those games? Like, yeah, how do those lines work?
And I guess MT's response made me think, I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo has, if he asks out of Milwaukee, right, he has agency in where he wants to go. So sure, the Warriors want to know, like, would he be willing to play for Golden State, right? It might be a pipe dream. It's probably, there's certainly other teams that have better trade packages. There's other situations. There's other winning situations out there. But because he only has one guaranteed year left on his deal, Milwaukee, in the event that he asks for a trade, isn't going to just trade him to some random team because he doesn't have to sign an extension there. We know, kind of some of the connections he has with Steph Curry, the Warriors from afar. Would this be a situation that he would be interested in? I mean, is there a potential sell that the Warriors could make in Giannis Antetokounmpo teaming up with Steph Curry at this stage of his career? So,
great question and follow up for Steph. If you had to trade one, who would you prefer? Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green? Because I mean, to make the money work with Antetokounmpo, there's another big player. He gets 50, and so it's not just JK, and you're not cobbling together enough small contracts to get up there. So you're looking at a big number player, and maybe a conversational topic for a different time. All right, boys, I got a basketball.
Hold on. I want to toss a couple out there if you don't
please.
mind. Yeah, okay. Because MT sent me for a loop in that I then realized, like, well, what's my pet? If his is Miles Turner. I feel like the gettable one, in terms of like a high value, high impact player that could really sort of catapult us into that playoff contention, long, deep playoff run kind of team, is Trey Murphy III. Not just because he's like a big dude, right? But also because, like, I think we could kind of fleece Joe Dumars. So, like, that's the type of person that if we email and say, hey, what's the truth? It could end up being a reply that actually is within the ability of our team to pull off, right? Like, it's like, okay, like, what are these not so smart GMs doing, right, that are thinking about? So, and then you mentioned the Cooper Flag one. I think there's also like questions around like if I'm emailing Adam Silver, how scared are you of Steve Ballmer? I mean, how scared are you of the fact that he could basically own every single franchise in the NBA? Is he too big to fail as an individual such that you can't go after him for the aspiration stuff? And then around the gambling things, around just the NBA in general, like, do you have any regrets about sort of selling, frankly, in my mind, the soul of the NBA in order to package it as a product for a maximum return on investment, as opposed to having a great basketball product? Because at the moment, that's pretty frustrating to me. So
I can answer that last question. No, he has no regrets.
Yeah, probably not. I just would like to know that so I could just like leave this alone,
No regrets at all. Great questions. All right. Here's our last segment. And Sam, I know you've got a game to cover. So if we lose you, great. But although I'd love your opinion on this. So every now and again, we do a thing called basketball court. Idea being, I find myself in the middle of more awkward social situations than Mr. Bean does. And I like to run them by other people to see whether or not, is this acceptable or is it not? So here's one. I've got a friend who I frequently go out to lunch with, and we go to a burger spot very frequently over in the East Bay. I won't mention its name. Great burgers. But the pricing's weird. A normal hamburger is like $12.99, but a cheeseburger is $19.99. Oh. So you're effectively paying $7 for a slice of cheddar. We joke about it every time. It seems fucking preposterous, but whatever. It is what it is. The last time I went there, my friend came with a backpack, which caught my attention, didn't say anything. And then he ordered a hamburger like we normally do. And I'm ready for my conversation. And instead of bitching, he reaches into the backpack, takes out a cooler and takes out a piece of cheese from the fucking cooler and puts it on the hamburger. I threw a full blown temper tantrum. I was like, fuck all this, dude. Like, I got super pissy and it felt absolutely unacceptable. And I was hell of embarrassed by everyone around us. And I didn't want the fucking server to see. And he was so unembarrassed. He said he was thinking about asking them to heat up his cold cheese so that it was a perfect cheeseburger. All right. So I've tipped my hand. Socially unacceptable. That's fucking ridiculous. You can't do that, dude. Just pay the $6 or just wait, make the cheeseburger at home. But that's my biased opinion, having lived through it. Is it socially acceptable to bring your own cheese on a burger to save $6?
I mean, everybody's got to do them, but not something that I don't think I would do that. It's not something I've ever done or would do.
Would you say something if somebody did it in your presence? Would you like, well, fine, to each their own, or would you be like me and make a gigantic deal about it? The second the cooler came on the table, I was like, that better not be fucking cheese, dude. Like whatever it is.
I thought it may or may not warrant a conversation.
Yes, let's go. All right, Sam's on my team, gentlemen.
I don't think it's socially acceptable, but I also feel like the restaurant started it with being socially unacceptable. If you're gonna charge $7 extra for a slice of cheese, like you started it. You know, like I'm just responding to I'm hitting you back. You punched me first. So I still wouldn't do it, and I do think it warrants a conversation. That said, whoever this friend is, I respect it, and I wouldn't ask him to warm it up, but I'd be like, yeah, or it's like making a point. I'd tell the waitress to be like, yeah, warm up this cheese because you guys are out of your mind charging me $7 for it's like, is it truffle butter cheese or not? Like
I would have left. I literally legitimately would have got up and left. If he had called them over, I'm like, I need you to heat this up because the cheese I brought from home is not melted. That would have been it. My friendship would have been over with that gentleman. Maxime?
That is rubbing the restaurant's face in this, which I think is a bridge too far, especially because like that's definitely a thing that restaurants are like, you can't bring in outside food. So right, so like morally, legally, obviously we're in a pretty clear, like that's not okay. But like, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say you are going to an entertainment situation, right? Or just a restaurant, right? And they just charge way too much for drinks, but instead you could bring your own alcohol and then pour it into a drink that's much cheaper. Isn't that pretty much the same thing? Or do you feel like this is it's like it's different because it's drinks versus cheese?
I'll make it more specific. Dude, I like take the movie theater. I bring shit into the movie theater all the time because I don't want to spend that money. I'll bring a beer in there. I'll bring whatever. I'll bring candy in there. But if while I was watching the movie, a member of the employee from the theater came in and checked in on everybody, came in and asked me about my popcorn, then I would not bring shit there anymore. And it's the fact that the waiter or the waitress is checking in on us too. Like we are going to have to experience them seeing this bullshit, out of bounds cheese that I don't need the social interaction. It's not the moral implication. It's fuck, man. You're rubbing it in this fool's face.
Okay, I'm 100% with you because this isn't a conversation about right and wrong. It's not even a conversation about having cheese on your cheeseburger and making it out with good money. It's that you are forcing me to be uncomfortable because the last thing, I don't enjoy confrontation. And so if I'm sitting there and I'm worried the entire, it's like even back in the day, at Oracle, at halftime, I would cut down from the super cheap seats, right, and sit much closer because they didn't give a shit. But the rest of the time, I was hella stressed that somebody was going to come back from the bathroom and be like, hey, this is my seat. You got to get the fuck out of here. Or an usher was going to kick me out or whatever. And it actually impacted my enjoyment of the overall thing, right? I've done that at concerts too. So, I just don't want the stress. I would rather sit up in the nosebleeds because that's what I paid for than have the potential of getting kicked out of my seat, even though I have a better view. So I'm with you on that.
You have to give the waiter more credit. I think they're not paid well enough in this scenario. So I think if you bust out the cheese, you don't even have to ask. The waiter probably comes over and is like, did you want me to warm that up for you? Because I've done that 3 times this week. You're right. $7 is crazy for this.
He's like, fuck this job. I hate this job. I hate these people. It's like, I've actually brought my own cheese. If you'd like to put it onto your burger, that would have annoyed me too.
They charge me for the cheeseburger too. So
probably.
Do you have an extra slice for tonight for me?
Sam, I'm sure that you face cheese questions in every radio hit that you have to do. So I appreciate you being willing to rehash this topic with us. Now you've got a game to cover, man. Gentlemen, final question. All right. The schedule is going to get easier. And that's been the thing that we've all been kind of circling around. The Warriors are going to get more healthy. In fact, I think they're, full squad right now. Over the next 10 games, what do you predict their record to be? Because it feels like we're at an inflection point. Like what happens here is going to really matter. I'll go first. 5-5. I think we are a 500 team.
Looking at the schedule now, 2 against Phoenix, home against Orlando, Dallas, then 3 on the road, Toronto, Brooklyn, Charlotte, home against Oklahoma City, Utah. There's certainly some winnable games in there, but some tough ones too. So, until the Warriors show that they can string together some wins. Right? I'm going to stop short of an official prediction, but until they've shown that they can string together some wins, like there's no reason to necessarily think they're going to. So I think they're at the point, and that's what they've been discussing, right? These past few games is it's time to tighten up and to see what they can do. So prime opportunity tonight against a team that they are in direct competition with for seeding in the Western Conference. You got two games coming up, an opportunity to build some momentum. Let's see what happens.
MT Maxine, before you go, I actually just got an email from Joe Lacob. It says, "Fuck these guys, 3-7," which I don't know. I don't know how he knew. I mean, he's watching live, so he probably knew. All right, what's your guess?
I'm going 6-4, and I'll bet you a $19 cheeseburger on it.
Let's go. You got to bring your own cheese, though.
I was gonna go the other way, 4-6. I'm just not feeling a lot of confidence. I feel like you said, Bram, this team has showed us what it is right now, and they are at best a 500 team. And like Sam said, there's some tricky matchups coming up.
Sam, jokes aside, I know I have included it in your intro, but I mean it, man. I as someone who takes his Warriors fandom more seriously than I care to admit, I do use your opinions and your takes frequently to help me sound more informed. So if there are more people out there who need your help sounding like they know what they're talking about, or just need more Sam Gordon in their life, where do they go?
First and foremost, very much appreciate you. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate you reading and following along. I'm at by Sam Gordon on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. By Sam Gordon on X. And everything you can find on sfchronicle.com, Sporting Green. Starting with tonight in Phoenix, right? Big one for the Warriors. They had a few days off in between the Portland late game debacle, blowing the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, in between the email to get ready for tonight, to try and establish a little bit of continuity, to try and set a starting lineup, a rotation, a bench unit. We will see what that looks like. So very much appreciate you guys. And again, Twitter by Sam Gordon, sfchronicle.com. We had a good time, and looking forward to reporting on all things out here in Phoenix.
Can't wait to see where you're going. Final credit to you. That Oakland hat is dope as fuck. I can't believe I went this long before saying it. Shout out to my dog Ty for having slept the entire time. This is a nothing short of a miracle. You guys know where to find us. The one thing I will underline, YouTube. Hop on there, support us, watch videos. Both Maxime and Marcus are doing excellent work there, and you can see the product of that work on our channel. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.